I got to say, shout out to S&P Inc. They're sponsoring this episode. Thank you so much. Rebuild your confidence. But I got to say, I'm really excited right now because today I get to interview somebody who I wasn't expecting to see or hang out. I get a call that just kind of changed my weekend. And that's what I love about life. It's special at times. It's tough at times. But this past weekend, I get a call from a friend who was supposed to be on this particular episode. He was flying in from Missouri, but he got sick. He got the COVID. And he said he feels fine, but he couldn't fly in. He couldn't be around anybody. So we will bring him on a later episode. But I happened to be sitting next to a friend of mine. I was watching his son play baseball in a tournament, and he had asked me, so what's your podcast about? I saw this thing on the internet. What's this about? Tell me more about it. And I started getting into it. I was like, well, here's the thing. It's called a Hero's Journey podcast. And each one of us is the hero of our own story. And as we go along, we presented with these moments that can literally change your life if you answer the call to action and step into that call to adventure. And when you're into that special world, when you're lost in that and trying to figure it out and learning all the new rules, you run into maybe somebody who becomes a mentor to you. And then the light bulb went off. I'm like, wait a minute, man. You were my mentor. You were the reason why I'm sitting here getting to do the things that I get to do. If you didn't cross paths with me and inspire me and help me along and teach me the things that you knew, save me the years and years of struggle to figuring it out myself. And I went, you have to be on my podcast. You have to come on. So today I want to introduce, he's more than a friend. Somebody thought over the weekend that we were brothers, and we are brothers. He's a good friend of mine. He's family to me. And the reason why I get to do what I do. So my name's Bryan Hopkins. Today, the producer is producer Chase, the voice. He probably didn't set up his camera. There it is. There it is.
If I remember to step on my microphone, though.
There you go. And this is a Hero's Journey podcast. So today, my guest is a good friend of mine. He's looking over. Mr. Daniel Bautista, everybody.
Hello. Bryan, thank you for having me, buddy.
Dude, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I'm glad you dressed up for the occasion.
Yeah. So the audience does know the location of this broadcast, correct?
We're in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas,
No,
okay.
Yeah.
So I am from a beach town in California called Ventura. We left on Friday. We embarked on Friday to a baseball tournament in Las Vegas. It was 66 degrees when we left home, I think. We got out at some point along the way. We got out of the car. The air conditioning was working well. We got out of the car. It was about 111, and my 10-year-old son said, "What the heck is going on?" So, needless to say, I really only packed T-shirts and shorts.
Yeah, as you should.
So I wasn't expecting.
No, I literally asked you
appearance.
on the spot as I was getting the call. We were sitting there at the baseball game, and I got the call, and my guest could not be here.
That's
but
right.
see, he would be sitting here with me at 4:00 in the afternoon, and you got me up.
Okay.
So it's 10 a.m. right now, and I'm like, whoa.
We got to get out of Dodge.
Yeah, I wish this
gotta get him
was
back to
just
school.
audio. Yeah. But in the introduction, I was trying to describe you, and there's no way that I can actually do that without saying that I wouldn't be doing what I do right now if I didn't meet you, if we didn't cross paths a long time ago.
Sure.
And
it would have been a different path, but I'm sure you would have found your way.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate that. But the thing was, for those of you listening, Daniel and I were in a band called Asa Cruz together. Mm-hmm. But before we were in a band, I was in a band called DOT, and you were in a band called Jericho.
Correct, yeah.
And you were one of my favorite singers and songwriters. We would share the stage together. Mm-hmm. And I just was like, this guy's got it. I mean, you had you had the swagger, the rock starness, and you were the songwriter. So, and I didn't write songs back then. I was in a band that somebody else wrote the songs, and I just got out there and sang.
Mm-hmm.
But
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, well, in our situation was pretty much the same thing because you were the songwriter in our band. But getting to share those moments with you were amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, what were some of your favorite moments in Asa Cruz?
So I kind of like, it happened very fast.
Right.
So the story was sort of like, I think when I met you, I was in that band Jericho.
You were.
You were in a band called DOT. We were mostly from Los Angeles. You'd migrated from the Pacific Northwest, but we're residents in Los Angeles at that point. And we're mostly playing the Hollywood, Los Angeles scene, correct?
Right.
SoCal, maybe the SoCal scene, venturing out to other areas of SoCal. I always liked you. I met your younger brother first, your younger brother Cody, and we hit it off really well.
And you still wanted to meet me after meeting Cody? Come on. Woo.
Well, he bragged about you incessantly, and so I finally met you, and I liked you immediately. Like I remember, I think the first time we hung out, we hung out like as a group all night long. It was a blast, right?
I remember the first thing you said.
What's that?
This guy doesn't walk on water and part the Red
Sea. That's right. Oh, that's right. Because by the time I met Bryan, he was so built up, right? He was a gorgeous dude, 6'3", long black hair. You know, he looked great. But I wasn't going to give him that. So when he first walked through the door, I looked him up and down. I said, I don't see the big deal here.
Yeah, and that's what you said to me. Walked away.
He's not walking on water.
I was like, nice to meet you too.
I'm more humble in my year as the years have gone on. I was a little cocky back then, but so we immediately hit it off personality wise. But I remember, being on some of the same bills. I don't think there was really talk of us playing together, and I think I stopped playing. I think I left the group. Oh no, you brought a project to me.
I did.
There was a anti-violence campaign going on, and you brought a project to me, and you needed a song for it. And we sat down and wrote a song about that or for that campaign. That's sort of what it started.
That's where, it's what brought us together, sitting on and working on the same thing.
So we first worked together we're still in our respective bands, but we got together for this one project.
Right.
And it was just effortless, right? And I mean, I think we wrote it, recorded it, released it within a couple of weeks or something.
Right.
And it got pretty good.
I forgot about that.
I think it's called, I don't even remember the name of it.
Nor do I.
Something about violence.
Yeah.
Hands of Violence or something.
Hands of Violence. Yeah.
And I remember one of the lyric line was, I won't lay down to the hands of violence. Some
Your
and
lyric.
it went really well. And it seemed to be received really well.
Right.
But then we kind of went back to our own, bands. But then I think it was that same summer, that same year or something where we demoed, you kind of came to me and said, dude, let me sing some of your songs. Let me do some of your stuff. And I said, sure. And I think we demoed some things up.
Well, bands like Dishwalla and Tonic and all these bands started popping up, which were very much the sound of Jericho, what you were doing at that time. And I was coming out of an era that was very much the grunge, it was the not even, it was like the, no, it wasn't. It was this.
Yeah, Pearl Jam and Nirvana were on top, and Alice in Chains, and
that's
great
right.
Great bands. But I think probably getting off track here, but this would have been like circa 1993, 94, maybe 94, 95, 96, somewhere in there. And you could not walk into a nightclub with a band that did not sound like one of those four bands that I just named. Everyone just emulating everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you and I would get together and do something, it sounded anything
but that.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
It was
Easy.
we just sounded different. And I think that's part of what was kind of like, hey, this is our own little thing. And so we just started working together. And then, fate would have it. I think we just did like a couple little demos and got a call from this guy named Rick Perisher. I'm like, I don't know who Rick Perisher is. And he's like, oh, yeah, I produced the first Pearl Jam record. I'm like, oh, did you? And of course, I didn't believe him.
Well, here's the thing. What you don't remember, which is it's crazy. We were we got together. We did some shows.
Yeah.
We went to Portland, Oregon, played the Crystal Ballroom.
I don't think so. I think the recordings came first.
You think?
I think the recordings came first. We were, because don't you remember?
Because
we borrowed a band to go record the songs.
Yeah, we borrowed my brother's band, but we went out on the road and we convinced him to set up and let us play for you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But the thing was, we were playing, and I remember this because it was my mom. He was standing next to my mom watching us play at the Crystal Ballroom, and he said, I want to meet this kid. And my mom goes, that's my son. And my mom said, I like your jacket. And he goes, it's yours if I can meet them. and you know how Rick was back then. He gives my mom the jacket. And when she tells me the story, I said, you're giving that back.
Right.
And then we were just like, we've got more songs. You got to let us play for you. You got to, let us do this thing. So we ended up driving to him. And in the 4 hours, we're on our cell phones calling him saying, look, let us play for you in the studio.
Yeah.
And he chopped up the songs. We came back, I want to say like a month later, and had to relearn our own songs.
Right.
And then I remember saying, hey, I want to stand in the corner that Eddie Vedder was standing in on the same mics, because he produced those records.
Right, yeah.
Pearl Jam's 10, Alice in Chains, Temple of the Dog. Later on, he went to do Nickelback and Three Doors Down, their biggest records, and so it
was a great experience. That we're a little foggy on the details.
Yeah,
but the opportunity came when you were your opening, monologue to the show here, where you said about seizing those opportunities. That was an opportunity,
right?
I don't know if I thought about it consciously then. Right. Just kind of went with it, right? But it would have been very, very easy. It's been so easy to just say, nah, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing. It's easier. I don't have to, go give up this or take a chance, start all over again and all. And so that really was like an opportunity that, listen, of all the singers I knew and the guitar players I knew and the musicians I knew, I was not at the top of the heat. My opinion of myself was like, I'm not the best musician,
bro. You had all these things.
Comes,
yeah, exactly. And threw it together. I remember being in the studio and demoing, and you said, I had never played a solo in my life, and you came up with a solo on the fly, and it was like high five. Yeah. And then you became that guy. It was that first solo in our demos, and then just
wasn't that when the producer was the engineer was that Swedish heavy metal Yngwie Malmsteen kind of clone guy, and he's like, just like, oh, how about I play every 10th note
and melodic. Yeah. But that's what I learned from you as a songwriter. Those were the things. It wasn't about trying to impress anybody. It was, let's emote, let's get out what's coming on, what's going on in here, out there, but let's do it in a way that wasn't conversational. No. It was
it wasn't contrived.
No, I'm saying it wasn't conversational. It was one of those things where it was coming out and it was poetic. And those are the things I learned from you. I remember going down the freeway, and I laugh because I was talking baseball with you this weekend, and we're going down the freeway. We're coming back from a show, and I'm pointing out, there's that city. I won the MVP championship baseball game. And you're like,
but okay, hold on a moment. Not the World Series, not the division series. Yeah, high school ball. Youth baseball, which is awesome. But you told me the story about 17 times.
Well, through our touring, hey, there's this spot. So I remember.
I know. You threw the shutout. I go.
You pulled the car over, and you said, "You see that sunset right there? Look at how beautiful that thing is. Now look at this. Is the world we live in. There's so much going on, right? There's just.
Well, we weren't just on the freeway. We were in Grants Pass, which is one of the most beautiful, corridors into another. I mean, it's beautiful there. That's, I think, in my defense, it wasn't like we're on the 5 freeway in downtown Los Angeles.
And then you put on U2, and you said, now music, this sunset, this beauty around us, that's what music captures. And I went, wow. It was something I remember to this day.
I remember more of a pause. I remember you pausing, and then you turned to me and you said, "But it was my four-seam." And I said, "Oh, I'll give you that."
That's like four-seam fastball, right? Come on.
I retired the side.
Yeah. So it's pretty wild. But we went through some crazy stuff. I remember not giving up. We didn't give up. We were going to Bend, Oregon. I remember following in a car behind you guys, stopped to use the restroom, and you're just ahead of us. I called you, hey, we're stopping. You're like, we're going to keep going. And you guys hit black ice. I wasn't in the car. Tell us about that.
So luckily, we were heading up the mountain road to Bend, Oregon. For any of those who are not familiar with it, it's like a 2-lane.
Yeah, 2-lane
highway.
Yeah,
one on each side.
One on each side, right?
And luckily, I think for us, we were going uphill. We were pulling a trailer. I was in a
Tahoe,
Chevy Tahoe, I would say, and pulling a small trailer. And came around a corner, hit some black ice, and we started sliding out. But I was counter steering and I was bringing it back. I think we would have been okay, but the car coming downhill was flying. It was like a Jeep Cherokee kind of a car. It was flying down the hill, and then I guess he locked his brakes and he just started like spinning, 360.
Black ice.
I saw at least 2 360-degree turns. I was able to avert him, but he tagged our trailer. And so somehow when it tagged the trailer, it flipped us up onto our side, just flipped us over. So there was not a high impact, but it was pretty freaking scary because we flipped over, the whole horizon's flipping, and we slid to a stop, and nobody was injured, and at least on our end.
Our gear is scattered all over the road.
The trailer was just annihilated.
We're on top of the mountain. I wasn't in the car. Like I said, I come walking up on it. I was like, I had this gut feeling
that
something's wrong, and you guys weren't answering, and barely getting service up in the mountains, and walked up on you. And what was crazy is, it took all night to get off the mountain, clean up. The very next day,
we had a gig.
2 days later, we had a gig, and the band let us use their gear, and we still did the show. We still finished the last couple of shows, and then went back home.
Do you remember which band that was?
Super Diamond.
It was Super Diamond. They were pretty popular.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to do that for us.
No. It was a sold-out show already. They could have just gone on without having us, but gave us that opportunity. But not giving up. Like, those were the moments that we didn't let anything get in the way of what we were doing. We went on to do some really cool things. We got to tour the country and play with some big people and actually get to play some fun shows together.
Yeah, absolutely.
A
lot of great experiences.
Our last show together was the Rose Bowl.
Was it the last one? It was definitely the last of note, right? I think we played something like in the off season, we called it, right? Like we're sort of recording, we might fill in.
But I remember you telling me, because we signed a record deal. We did those high school tours, and we put together those assemblies. Because what most people don't know is I've never drank or done drugs in my life. I don't know what alcohol tastes like. I've never done a drug in my life. And I remember sharing that before, and we were sitting in an interview. We were being interviewed by the newspaper, and we brought that up, and she's like, wow, the high school kids should know this about you. And we ended up putting together like 5 or 6 shows where we played assemblies.
Right.
And that was insane. That continued. I still do that to this day.
Yeah,
I've played Alaska a bunch of times, but what's cool now is like you hear a song of mine on the radio, and then, you're playing a high school and sharing that story. And that's pretty much all I say. I grew up just like you. I grew up in a small town. I was surrounded by all these things, people, peer pressure, all that stuff. Yeah. And I just didn't succumb to it. It was something that I just stood and said, I don't need to deal with that because I'm chasing this and I'm doing that. Yeah. And I don't need that in my life. And so that's pretty much it, when we were doing those shows. But
I remember a variety. There was that. We would play, these theaters, House of Blue, like theater, a couple thousand capacity. We may open a show for a better known band and play in front of more people. Then there was that Rose Bowl gig that you talked about, where we were actually the halftime entertainment.
Right.
For a Galaxy soccer game.
Exactly.
Sold out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was incredible.
It was insane.
I've never heard it that loud before in my life. It was so loud I didn't even.
It was so many people that they wouldn't even look at us. If you remember this, they're not looking at us.
They're looking at the
screen.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I looked at the screen and freaked myself out.
Right. My hair.
Yeah. It's so huge. Dude, why I gotta be in this bubble?
Yeah, that was fun. But yeah, it was great. Good stuff. By then I'd begun producing other bands.
Yep. You produced my brother.
Yeah, and I don't know if that happened yet, but I went on to do that.
Yeah.
I produced one of their albums, and I was a little bit older than you guys, and we toured for several seasons, several years, and I kind of got. It wasn't that I was burned out on it, but there were things that I wanted to do that required me being home.
Exactly.
I can't produce a record from the road. Well, maybe now you can.
Right.
But back then we didn't really have the digital capacity. It was just kind of coming in, sort of the sending files back and forth and doing things on, and recording from your laptop. That was just sort of coming in.
There were two things that, I remember that. But two things that come to mind, and you said, that those times, like, social media was not prevalent like it is now. But
I don't even think MySpace was out, was it? It had just come out. Maybe.
MySpace just came out.
Yeah.
But, it's like dial up and all that stuff. Email, what's an email? And I remember that. But I remember, and I'm going to date us on this one, but we were in Chicago doing Jenny Jones.
That's right.
We flew out to Chicago because she heard one of our songs. Mm-hmm. By the way, she heard it because we got asked by Warner Brothers to put our song on this thing called GarageBand.com. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
yeah.
Walking in Your Shadow.
Yeah.
Our song, they said, if you're any good, your song it's just voted on by people, and it just floats around. And, this was the first big internet thing, and the labels were saying, try this out. We ended up with your song you wrote, the #1 song in the world for 9 weeks in all genres, from rock to pop to whatever. And that's what Rick Parrish, that's when heard, everyone started hearing. Jenny Jones wanted us on her show, and at that time, we had an album, and it was Pop Star.
Correct, yeah.
But when we worked with Rick, it was cool because he did demos with us, basically. Right. And he came to me later before he passed away. Uh-huh. Rest in peace, by the way, Rick. Before he passed away, he said, why didn't you guys just release what I did with you guys?
Because he wouldn't give it to us.
Yeah, back then he wouldn't. And he goes, but now I would.
He wanted like $60,000.
Yeah,
I'm like, come on, man, just give me the recording.
And he goes, I would have done that for you guys. But later when he, whatever, this ego went away or whatever, like I'm the guy.
Right.
When that went away, he took me to dinner and he said that. So that was really nice to hear later on. But like songs like I Will Not Say Goodbye and Walking Your Shadow, and produced by Rick Parrish, was amazing. So we had some really cool moments like that. But 9/11, you were like a big brother to me. You were somebody that it's still to this day. But back then, I looked to you to learn from. Mm-hmm. I said in the beginning of this, I would not be where I am had I not met you. You were somebody that, when you told me something, like pulling over on the side of the freeway, and saying, hey, take this in. That's what this is about. That life is this. That sun going down. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. And those little moments. So we're in Chicago, and we are sound checking for Jenny Jones.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the morning.
7 in the morning.
Yeah, 7 in the morning. We're setting up, and the first plane hits a building, and then the TVs come on. And we're like, what's going on? Are they putting on a movie?
Right.
As the director's telling us, this camera, blah, blah, blah. And then everybody stopped, and they ran us into another room. Mm-hmm. And we can hear them fighting. They're arguing. People are saying, I'm leaving, I'm going home.
Right.
We're at war. Like, there's all this craziness. And we had each other.
Yeah.
It was you, me, John Aponte, and Axel Tamayo.
And
that was
Jonas was
and Jonas with the
tour manager.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we're like, what are we going to do?
And the airport shut down.
Exactly.
And,
I remember I was on the street. We were on the street with Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
Standing there, and he's like telling us, you know, that, hey, that's a Sears Tower. We need to get away from this building as soon as possible. And we're waiting for a van to pick us up and take us to our hotel room. And Chicago was shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And you were the guy we turned to. You were the big brother to us and telling us that everything's going to be okay. And we're all hanging out in the same hotel room. Mm-hmm. And you got us through those moments. Like, what was that like for you to be the guy in charge of, you know, 4 grown men? But,
well, so it's funny you said, because as you're saying, a lot of these memories are coming back to me.
Right.
You know, these were,
a while
9/11
ago.
was over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. But you were, if you think I was the, you know, the father or the general, so to speak, you were definitely my major or my captain. I mean, you were an excellent partner. You were my business partner too.
Yeah.
It wasn't just music. We ran the business
Right.
as well of touring in a band. And you were very reliable. You know, you know, I didn't have to worry about, you know, finding you in the bathtub the next morning and just wake you up, you know, and drag you out of there.
Right.
To deal with all that crap. You're very mature for your age. And I did have some life experience maybe over you guys at that point, but I'd never been through a freaking
None of us had been through that.
attack on the country. You
The
know?
pandemic, the same kind of thing.
Right.
I reached out to you during the pandemic because it was the closest thing to 9/11.
Yeah.
You know, and I had to be that to Nicole, and I had to be that to my family, and try and, like, everything's gonna be okay. And I reached out to you and said thank you, because had you not given me that comfort and said, hey, you know, we're going to be all right, and we're going to get, and we're stuck in Chicago. We don't know when we're going to get to go home,
That's
anything.
right.
But you know what was cool about that? When it started to open up, John and I went to the Hard Rock Cafe to eat, and it was the first place it opened.
Right.
So we went there to eat, and this lady runs up the stairs and runs downstairs with this big guy, and she said, "Is this you?" And we're like, "Yeah, that's us." And it was our CD.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
well, see, at that time, remember, this was Chicago also before. I think it was the day before 9/11, where they still had record stores.
oh yeah,
And they had this one little record store in Chicago called the Virgin Mega Store.
right. We
And-
were in there,
And we
on
walk
a
in there, and the cardboard cutout.
display
And,
of us.
and so I remember, like, our albums or they were CDs. They were in the bins, but then they also had this cardboard cutout of the band, and I remember the 4 of us, like, standing there next to it and waiting to see if
Anyone recognizes us? Yep, that's us. Yeah.
like.
It's like standing underneath the billboard. But
So it was pretty exciting. So that's how, they did, you know, I wouldn't say we're international superstars at that point, but certainly regionally our album had already been in certain markets for a little bit.
and that was us. We owned Sundown Records.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
We put our stuff out. And what was really cool is walking in and seeing our album on those listening circle displays and things like that. It was killer. So,
Good
but
stuff.
they asked us to play that night.
That's right. We played. Yeah.
So, and we're like, well, we don't have any of our gear. We just did Jenny Jones, and they rented us everything. And they said, well, what about this? Pull back a curtain, and they had everything.
They had the
for
back
us.
line, and we had our guitars, and
right.
that's about it. Everything else was backline.
And I played guitar back then.
That's
which
right.
was crazy.
Yeah. You don't play anymore?
Not really.
No?
I'm picking it up again, but yeah, I did. On stage.
You maybe threatened Ben a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, trying.
Oh no freaking way.
No. So yeah.
So I don't know. How did I hold it together? I don't know. I think my personality was the same no matter where I was. Like it just, whether I'm in a band or I'm working outside of music or whatever I'm doing, I just take it very seriously, and it's an opportunity. Now, when I say serious, I don't mean I don't have a good time. You knew me to be as much of a prankster as anybody, I'm sure.
Right.
But I just, the old adage, anything worth doing is worth doing well.
Right.
I think I really adhere to that principle. And I want to be the best. If whatever I'm doing, it better be the best that I can do it, or keep challenging myself to keep doing it. And being in that band setting, I sort of imputed it on you guys. I made you do it too. I'm like, if you're going to play with me, you got to be the way you were when I met you is not good enough today. You got to get better.
I remember you telling me that. You gave me songs to. I need you to listen to the Beatles. I need you to listen to this song. I need you to, because we were two singers in the band, and I had to learn to sing harmonies, and I still don't hear them to this day. But if you gave it to me, I could sing it.
Right.
And that's what you did, and you taught me that. So. Again, it was me turning to you going, okay. But here was the thing. We played the Rose Bowl. And I remember there's the arches at the Rose Bowl. Behind you, the sprinklers are going, because we're there really early. We have set up and sound check and all this stuff that people listening, watching, you're not aware of. You just show up and think that the show happens. It's an all-day thing.
Sure.
And so we got there early. I always say that's what you get paid for.
Right.
You get paid to travel. Yeah. You get paid to set up. You get paid to, the moment we're on stage, you do that for free.
Sure.
And Chase, you'll learn that as you go along. And the more you do this, producer Chase sitting back there, by the way, we'll get to you in your weekend because I've got something to ask you. But you'll learn that as you go along. Music is something you'll do for free. Everything else, you get paid for. All the rehearsals, you get paid for. All that other stuff, that's what you're getting paid for. I'm just saying.
Right.
I like it. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, there you go. So that day, you put a guitar in your hand. And I remember you giving me this because this was a turning point for me. And I don't know if you're ever even aware of this. Because I remember this as being the last show. There may have been one after it.
I think I would agree with that.
Yeah, but you put the guitar in your hand and said, I just wrote this new song. I think it was called Shannon. And so you're sitting there, the silhouette.
I wrote it from, so what year was that? 2002 or 3?
Somewhere around there. I don't remember.
Because Shannon was about a woman young lady I met in Chicago over that week we were there in
really?
That 2001. It was
I didn't know
that wasn't really her name, but she
was it Jenny Jones?
Yeah, the song is about Jenny Jones, and it's not a love song. I mean, it was more like I just remember I met this gal and she was telling me her story, and it just kind of struck me, and I wrote a song about her, but her name wasn't Shannon, but Shannon sang better, so
yeah.
The song was about this person I met, like this random person I met when we were in Chicago on the week of 9/11, Anyway.
So you're playing this song, right? Or you're about to. And you said, hey, listen, I just wrote a new song. And today could easily be the last day that we do this together. Because if the label doesn't allow us to record a new record and we have to tour on this album for another year, I'm out.
That's right. Okay.
And as an artist now, I understand what you're saying. Back then I didn't. I thought we're gaining ground. And you
were right. You're probably right. I think you were right as far as the gaining momentum.
Here we are playing the Rose Bowl, but as an artist who's trying to express himself, you were the songwriter. And so I get that today. I get wanting to put, your work out there, that's what drives you. You can't stand up there, keep playing the same songs and keep expecting, to expand at least as a person, as an artist. And I didn't get it then, and I get it now. But you played this song and I'm like, yeah, I really like it. But you and I both know that they're not going to do that.
Right.
They're not going to give us it's going to be another year, and that was it. I mean, because they had boxes full of flyers that they could have just been giving out, and they didn't hire anybody to do that and give those out.
Right.
We couldn't stand there and do it ourselves
and
then go do the show. So that was it. But so after that show, I ran into you at the gym, and I said, man, I got to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And I borrowed a guitar. And I still to this day don't know the chords I play. You know, it's all bar chords that you taught me.
Mm-hmm.
And I sit and write. And I wrote songs, and I started the band Paperback Hero.
Yeah.
Right after that.
With a couple of our buddies, like mutual buddies.
Exactly.
That we knew,
Yeah.
Dan and Chris.
Yep. Well, Dan was the bass player with us on the Rose Bowl show.
Right.
He did that tour.
And Chris from Paperback Hero, who's now in a band called Bisto Blanco, he was in that first lineup we recorded with Rick Perisher way back in like the late 90s.
Rick and Dave Grable.
Yeah.
Yeah, we borrowed my brother's players.
We, a lot of our crew has been around for a long time.
Exactly.
You know, like, you know, over time you really grow to trust one another.
Right. And Chris is doing huge things with
Yeah.
Vista Blanco, with
Yeah.
Chuck Garrick, who's
Yeah.
an old friend of yours as
Yeah.
well, and you
Yeah.
guys go way back. Oh, and mine.
Yeah.
But that's crazy.
Yeah, that's cool. That's the great part about it. But unlike you guys, I'm no longer a musician.
Right?
So
well, we're going to get to that. So
good to you. Good for you guys. And
Yeah.
I kind of just stand back, and maybe I am like the dad. I'm like, those are my kids. Look how well they're doing. You know, I'm proud of you guys. You know.
Thank you.
But it's grueling, man. That lifestyle is grueling, and you know,
I learned to
I'm
love it,
definitely
though.
retired from that now.
You push me, though. You set the standard. So even now, with the direction that I'm going and where I'm at in my career, there has to be certain things that I expect from other musicians that share the stage
Sure.
with me.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have it and they don't have the work ethic, I mean, just personally,
Mm-hmm.
just as people, the way they handle themselves, I'm talking go to the gym, talk all the things.
Uh-huh.
It started right here.
Right.
You taught me that. There was a mentor before you that got me into music, and you were the one who took me to the next level and pushed me really hard to get there. And it was like, hey, you better be better today. I expect more out of you today than I did yesterday. And yesterday you were great.
Right.
And I'm like, damn. You know, like, okay. But Chase, I think we found a video before we got started, right? I want to show everybody what we kind of look like and sound like back then.
Let's get this rolling.
You know that we're falling under your spell. You move like a serpent, hypnotic asphalt. And so we embrace you with satin and silk. You're an object of desire. Pop stars, as we beseech you. Pop star, we need to be near you.
Oh wow! my 10-year-old son is in the studio, and he's thinking, "Dad, why is your hair blonde on top?" What the heck? Same thing he said about the weather. What is going on here?
Well, that was us, which was wild to go play pop star on a show when right after 9/11 it felt really weird when they
Yeah.
still brought us back days later.
And then so that visual is great because I think that was probably 2000.
I don't remember.
99, 2000, probably 2000, year 2000 or so, 2001. And even by then, you could not, like, we were coming out of that, you know, bands at that point, you know, they weren't into, like, really entertaining. They played their songs. They're very talented, you know, song, but they didn't want to entertain. They were afraid of it.
Right.
I think it was the same year we saw, like, Bruce Springsteen had come out for a big, and he opened the Staples Center or
We
something.
did, and that was the night we watched him
And
for
his
4 hours.
Yeah, and his show was just like, his songs are great, but you know, he's great with a guitar sitting on a stool, right? But like, he really entertained, and he'd been doing it for so long at that point, and it really struck me. And I think that's when we kind of sat down and said, you know what, I don't want to just play our songs. Like, hey, aren't these
Right.
great? I want to entertain people.
And that's, I mean,
And
look,
let's just go for it and like really, try to give them a visual show and entertain them. So it was beyond
we
the
had
music.
the
yeah.
lights. We had, we were
Yeah.
covered in leather.
Yeah.
It's
And if
true.
that's not entertaining,
Yeah.
I don't know what
tight
is.
leather pants, tight leather clothes. It was insane.
But that wasn't really that popular at that
But no,
point.
we were ahead of it. We were ahead of the curve on this one because then there was bands that came out with the similar sound, like the Killers and
the Hives.
I can't. Yeah, the Hives. And I can't remember the.
Remember a band called Snow Patrol? I thought they
Yes,
sounded a lot.
they
like,
did.
yeah.
People thought that it was like, oh wow, is this you guys? And
Yeah.
so it was
Well,
like,
that's all right.
yeah,
you
but
know.
we were just ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Had I convinced you that
keep
day
going.
to keep going.
Yeah.
We would have been on the forefront because people were chasing.
You
what we were
could be
doing.
right. And
No,
then-
I'm not saying that.
And then
you
we
made
could,
the right
and then we
choice.
could be, slammed for, touring 5 years on one album and never. That's it. That was
exactly.
there is no sophomore slump because there was never a
There's
sophomore season.
album.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I am going to make you pull the guitar out at some point. Do you want to do it now before we end? Since this is a
you're
segment we're
expecting?
talking.
I just told you I'm retired.
I know you're retired, but it's really cool. Your son's sitting in here.
Yeah.
And like
Do
I
you want me to
said,
play a song, buddy?
yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead,
Is it
grab your
tuned up?
guitar. Yeah, it should be.
So because you are highlighting me as a songwriter, I'll play you some of my songs.
Yeah, and you can go verse, chorus, that kind of thing, and go to the next one. Show me. I just want to show a little.
How does the
While you're getting set up, hey, producer Chase,
What's that?
how was your weekend? I want to hear about you had 2 shows, Friday and Sunday. I didn't get to make it, but you have been rehearsing relentlessly right now
Yep.
for this show. And how was it? And tell us about it.
I mean, it was unreal actually. Like this
Did I
was
do
maybe
this right?
this was my my professional role debut in the opera world. So like
wow.
and I've made money singing opera. Like you make money, you're doing it. You're professional. But this was the first one where I step on stage and like everyone's doing their job like to the most, like the best they can. We've got like a 40-foot set. We've got all the lights being awesome. We've got great like world-class singers there, and man, it just felt cool. The audience, we had like almost a full house every night.
Wow.
For an opera in Las Vegas, and
Congratulations.
it was. Well, there was one point where like during the curtain call, I'm not kidding, the audience was clapping for like 15 minutes. They were like hooping and hollering in the audience for an opera.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now, is this show going on still? Like, is it going to be going on more than just this weekend here?
It was just this weekend.
Oh,
I know, it's brutal. It's just a one weekend show, and we bring like the best of the best in town, and we just make it happen.
Oh, wow. Oh, well, I'm
cool.
proud of you, man.
Thank you.
Kudos,
I appreciate you.
kudos.
I appreciate you.
This is just the beginning, man.
If you're an opera singer, don't get too excited about my vocal range here. So
I heard
Yeah.
you singing earlier. I like your voice. I can't sing like that.
So,
what kind of opera? What do you whom do you model yourself after, or who are some of your favorites?
I mean, the goal would be like, and I don't know if you would have heard of these guys, but there's 2 baritones that just are like the kings of what we call squillo, which is like the overtones in the
Okay,
voice.
sure.
And it's Bastianini
Yeah,
and
know that.
Leo Nucci.
Okay.
And there's this video of Leo Nucci when he's like 96 years old, warming up on his birthday, and he is hollering, man.
Yeah?
It's crazy. I
Wow.
can't wait to be like that.
Maybe there's hope for me.
yeah. Well, that's very cool, man. Very cool. Let's say he's the guy with the real voice in here. We call him the voice.
Yeah.
It's producer Chase. So, but yeah, I want to.
I'll dink around. I don't know
Yeah,
how
so
the
what are you gonna
sound
play
is.
us?
Is this coming through here? Okay, if I'm kind of singing and playing like this.
Yeah, I think it sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Check. So, okay, this is a song called Tonight. I wrote this with one of my other longtime buddies whom I've been playing music with since we were teenagers, Jimmy Rutherford.
Oh, I love Jimmy.
And he came up with this guitar part, and he was just playing it, and then I just started, just kind of took it and came up with some melody over it, wrote about it, and thought about it it's about a particular person and a particular time in my life. It was a long time ago. So it's called Tonight. Is that coming through?
Yeah.
Here in your arms tonight. I didn't know the moon could look so bright. Didn't know the world could seem so wild. And your hair was long and brown as it brushed across my face. Every memory that we trace. Am I gonna see it tonight? Am I gonna see it tonight? Here by your side, I lie. I didn't know that eyes could look so wide. I didn't know a man was supposed to try. And your hair was long and brown as it brushed across my face. Every memory that we trace. Am I gonna see it tonight? Am I gonna see it tonight? Well, am I gonna see it tonight? Here in your arms tonight. I didn't know the moon could look so bright. Na 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 na.
Woo! Yeah, buddy.
Something like that.
Dude.
Woo, it's been a while.
The crooner, man.
Sounds great, man.
Oh, dude,
thank
it's
you.
insane.
Sounds great.
Thanks.
So
So that's it.
that's why
yeah.
I did this with
Yeah.
you.
What do you think, buddy? Okay.
Yeah. Seriously, I'm full on impressed. And here's the thing: growing up, and being around you, you always used to say you had like this split kind of down the middle. You were always pulled towards music, but you were always pulled to your intellect. You're a smart individual. I like my girl. She's beautiful, smart. You're a handsome, smart, talented individual,
Thanks, bud.
and I love that I get to call you my big brother. You know, and it's honestly, it means a lot to me. But I remember that about you, and the reason why I say that because that day at the Rose Bowl, it was like you made a decision. I'm going back to school. And what are you now?
Let's see. What do I do, buddy? My son. He thinks I'm crazy for doing what I do.
Oh yeah.
I have to. What do I do for my work, bud? Well,
Here, come talk.
Yeah. Why don't you come down here, bud? Come on down.
so the reason we're here is my son was in a big baseball tournament in Las Vegas.
yeah.
You know how to put the headphones on?
So this is why.
I'm
this is
an
why
attorney
everybody.
now. Yeah, I'm an attorney now. But even back when we were in the band, wasn't I the one looking at the contracts and trying
You
to figure
were.
out what the heck's going on?
Even
here?
when our lawyer would say this, and you were the one, taking a red pen to it and highlighter and doing all that stuff, and I knew that, that was something about you that was a little. You were split.
Yeah.
It was just who you were.
Yeah.
If you could be the label and the lawyer and be the artist.
Yeah, I probably would have.
You
right?
you would have done
That's
both.
insane. That's insanity.
Exactly.
But,
But you're the guy I'm calling now going, hey, will you check out this contract?
Sure, yeah.
You know, even though I'm getting it looked at here, I trust you.
Sure.
And I know you're going to have my back.
Right.
And so it's amazing. But this is Wyatt. Wyatt, you came out here for what? Talk into the mic so everybody can hear you.
Baseball tournament.
Oh, yeah? How did that go?
I won the championship.
Woo!
Just like that.
Just like that.
How do you think it went?
And what was really cool was I watched you play a game that you guys lost to the team on, what was it, Saturday. And then what happened on Sunday?
We beat them.
Oh, yeah?
For the championship, right?
Yeah? And now your dad told me that, tell me about the last play of the game. And because it was, they had like 2 runners on, right?
Yeah.
And it was
on
it
first
was
and
getting
second.
close.
And the score was 6-9. We were ahead.
2
And-
runners on.
Yeah, and it was a line drive hit back to my friend Jaden.
Who was playing what? What was he playing?
He was pitching.
Right.
And he caught the ball, but he landed on his. He fell off of his feet,
Right?
and the runner on first had to tag up
And
But-
you were playing what position?
first base,
Yeah.
and he threw it to me, and I got him out at first, and we won the championship.
That's amazing. Your dad said it wasn't just it wasn't a good throw, so you had to make a good play at first base.
Awful throw.
So luckily you stretched that.
Yeah,
You're 4'6.5".
that's amazing.
Height, right?
So, what did you get to do? How'd you get to celebrate?
Ice water got dumped on my head.
No way. Okay, and your dad sent me a picture. You had a ring, right? You got to yeah. You know what? We'll throw that up in here so everybody can see it later. Like show that picture of you wearing your championship ring. So got some beach guys coming out here to Las Vegas, beating the locals who play in this heat all the time, and it was double that. It was like in the 60s when you left California,
Yeah.
and it was about a 111 when you won the championship. 4 games.
Yeah.
Wow, that had to feel good. Yeah, your dad said you got some room service and got the treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite moment here, right now? Yeah.
I'm not quite sure.
Well,
Okay.
you won a lot of candy at the arcade, didn't you?
Yeah.
What did you think about your dad singing and being on this podcast with me?
It was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I knew your dad. When we were coming up together, I wouldn't be in this position if I didn't know your dad. Your dad taught me a lot. He's smart. He's pretty driven, and what he does, being an attorney, that's a big deal. That's a long road, and he went on that long road to make that happen, to provide for you, and to be able to. I think I had to. I'm surprised you knew anything about baseball.
Yeah.
You're telling me stuff the other day. I'm like, wait, what?
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
I always liked baseball.
Yeah,
it's kind of
it's like the uniforms. Your dad liked the good-looking uniforms, and he was like, wait, I have to slide in this, but I'll get it dirty, you know?
I loved it when I was a kid. I was
Right.
really into baseball. I knew all the Dodger lineups. You know, we're from Los Angeles. I knew all the Dodger lineups growing up. Got to see some of the greats. I've seen Oral Hershiser pitch. I've seen, Fernando Valenzuela pitch. A lot of the greats. Now I'm like going through my mental Rolodex.
Yeah.
The list is much longer than that, but those kind of jump out at me. But then sort of when I became a teenager, I got into music. I started getting into rock music. And I became such a disciple of it that's all I thought about.
Right.
And so from teenage throughout the time I knew you, my 20s, 30s, maybe it wasn't until maybe sometime after that I put music kind of on the back burner, and then some of my other interests and likes started to come to the forefront again. I started to get into football and baseball again, but I liked it when I was a kid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of
So,
course.
and then he started playing about 5 years ago, and those first 3 years he played, I had to coach him. I was the coach, and that goes. And so I'm like, I don't know how to coach. I had to learn how to coach, and so I learned more about the rules
Right.
and about this, and
That's awesome.
he's on a travel team, so they play by major league rules.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 10 years old, you got to lead off and steal, and
And
yeah, it
there's
was really
they'll
cool.
call balks on the
And you're
pitches
swinging
and-
with a wooden bat. Wow. But you have an arm. I saw you throw from right field
To home.
on a one hop to home. Perfect. Kept that guy on third base.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I was cheering for you. You didn't even know who I was. You're like, who's that guy standing there next to my dad screaming?
I didn't even see you.
You didn't?
No.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I don't know how you don't see me. I'm 6'3". I'm a big dude.
Even the
Like,
coaches saw him. Like,
yeah, they're like, who's that guy? He's got black nail polish. And, you know, he's wearing black
Well,
out
we were,
here.
we were
you
in
know?
North Las Vegas.
Yeah,
North Vegas.
right. Hey, before we go, because we have to wrap this up, shout out to Rob Bourbon. He's sitting in Germany. He's the guy who designed my logo, which I love. I wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for people like John Orlando, Travis, Austin, George, my boy Chase behind there, Sticky Paw Studios. But I have a buddy of mine in Boston by the name of Chuck Capello. I love him. He supports everything I do. And he gave me this. So with your crooner voice, I want you to read this on the air.
Okay.
Okay? You got to read it like it is. Make it sound. See if you said that sounds
Oh,
funny.
okay, got it. So it's like
Yeah.
the Boston
Yep.
thing. So I parked the car in Harvard Yard, and we take the T to the north end for supper. I had some chowder and a beefer? Beefer? After that, we go get these wicked big ice cream cones with Jimmy's. Then we went to the Sox game. It was what's that say? What's that?
Pizza?
Pissa? It was a pissa? When I finally get back to the car, I find out some cop, I think that's the Boston thing. Some cop gave me a freaking parking ticket. But anyways, I love Boston.
I love the Boston accent. Well, I want to thank you guys for being my
Yeah,
guests.
this is
I thank
totally
you for
unexpected and so
getting
much fun.
brave, both of you, to do
Yeah.
this. Brave enough to do this with me. And just know that I love your dad, okay? And I have so much gratitude for him because I learned a lot from him. I'm getting to, like I said at the beginning of this, I get to jump on a bus this weekend to write for another band.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be fun for me. And the stuff when I was talking to them on the phone, and I was explaining what songwriting was, it was literally the stuff you taught me.
Yeah.
So I love you, man, and I appreciate
Love you
it
too, buddy.
very much.
Yeah.
My guest today was Daniel Bautista, attorney at law in California.
Yes.
So there you go. We got your digits underneath there. And you got a website coming. So
Yeah,
no, it'll be up by the time that this comes out.
Correct, yeah.
But Wyatt, thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
And producer Chase, much love. Congratulations. I am so sorry I missed this weekend, but this is just the beginning for you, brother. Just the beginning.
I appreciate that, brother. No problem.
Yeah. So my name is Bryan Hopkins. This is a Hero's Journey podcast. Go chase that adventure.
Dream, and I believe it's coming around to me.